Well, thank you. I'm just going to offer a few closing remarks here. I mean, wasn't this panel? I mean, this was just a perfect ending. So thank you again. That was. I feel really inspired. So in my past was a failure, but in my future
It's spotless.
my future is spotless. So if my boss was here, my future is spotless. So the future of work, investing in workers, the business case for investments in workforce development. Now, these were the names of some of the sessions that we had over the last few days, but I dare say to you, this is our future. This is the moment of our time. So those are not just mere words. Those are the things that we have to do. We must do them. But getting the answers to these questions is not an option, and it's not easy. But as we've heard, we've all got to work. I think President Kaplan really spoke about it's not just for the mayor to do, or the economic developer do, or the CEO of PolicyLink. It really is something for us all to get engaged in. So I know I'm personally very curious about how are we going to take this message forward, and what are we going to do with this information that we have next? How are we going to really think about transforming our workforce for the 21st century? That's a shameless plug for a book, by the way, but you should read it. But also really what kinds of investments are really going to be needed, and we've heard all about that over the course of the last few days. As we've seen, improving outcomes for both workers and employers will require not only new thinking, but maybe some reframing of the thinking that we've had with our programs, but also with our policies. And we're going to have to think more intensively about the people who've been left behind. I mean, so we know we've been hearing about all of these issues over the last several days, but for whom are we working, and who should experience the benefit? And this is America. We're not a poor country. Thank you for that, and we should be able to do it. And of course, the formal workforce system has a big role to play in that, but it needs to span across industries. And we need to engage K through 12 and early education and et cetera. There are lots of people there, and all of us here. So solutions, and this is a aha moment for me, and perhaps this is kind of not a good aha. You may think, why is he just now having this? But we have to think comprehensively. When we talked about, what was really powerful for me was to hear about that whole person, or the person who's leaving an incarceration situation, and all of the types of wraparound services that are needed in order for that person to be successful. But that person may have more challenges, or it may be to a higher degree, but ultimately, many people have similar challenges, and we've got to figure out ways about how we're going to wrap all of those things around, and it's not going to just be the purview of the workforce system. So I want to transition here to say thank you. So obviously, a conference of this magnitude, with 12 reserve banks and lots of partners and some fantastic, fabulous speakers, could not have just happened. It didn't just occur. But the first thanks that I want to give is to some people who often don't get thanked, and that's to the hotel staff who provided us wonderful meals and services, to our audio-visual people who have been in the back, making sure that everyone in TV camera land can really see us, and that all of our mics work. And also to our law enforcement people and others in this time, keeping us safe. I mean, that's a big opportunity, and so we thank those people who've been engaged in doing that. And the people who have cleaned our rooms and made this, and when we go into the restroom, it's a safe place. So let's make sure that we thank them. The next thanks I want to extend is to our partners. And so you've heard about this being a great partnership with all 12 Federal Reserve Banks and the Board of Governors. But I also want to just make sure that we have a special shout out to our partners, because they have not only, to a certain extent, they've been our brain trust. here at the Federal Reserve. We've relied on them in order with some thinking, but also with logistics. So we value them. So I want to thank. Upjohn. I definitely want to make sure to thank our partners at the Heldridge Center, but also our local partners here, and that's the LBJ School and the Ray Marshall Center. So we just thank you and appreciate you. And in fact, would you all stand up, please? Please stand. And so if I was to name every Federal Reserve person who worked in some way around this conference, and I mean not just what you see here today, but also leading up to this, we heard about the regional reports. There are lots of other things around CRA and building that, and examiner training and early education, and there's lots of things that have gone into this. And I know that we had everyone from the Federal Reserve stand earlier, and I'm not going to call everyone's names because I think people are we'll be here until it's time for all of our flights later this evening. But Federal Reserve people, would you stand up once again? If you had anything at all to do with this effort, please stand and be recognized. The very last thanks is perhaps an obvious one, but thanks to you. You've all been tremendous participants and engaged. There are lots of people here who we know, and there are lots of people that we don't know from the Fed. And it's just been so wonderful and so rich to engage you, to learn from you, to hear about your challenges, but also to hear about your solutions. And so we take this very seriously. We appreciate your participation. We certainly hope that you've gotten something out of this event. We certainly got a lot out of it in talking to my peers. And so we just want to just extend a big thank you to all of you who made this trip to Austin. Lastly, what next? So what next is, please, ma'am, please, sir, the evaluation form. So how many people have enjoyed that app? It's been fabulous. I mean, we're being sustainable, and I think it's just been great. But there is an evaluation on your app. It's very easy and quick to fill out. So we value your feedback, and we want you to do that. And as President Kaplan said, please write down that one thing that you want to think about. We want to hear that, and there are opportunities in that app for that. The materials from this, a number of people have asked about. We haven't had a lot of presentations, but several of you have asked about the few that we have had. So we're going to make sure that we post those on what website are we going to use? It's really catchy, investinwork.org. The report on the findings of the regional meetings, that is already on that website, so I definitely encourage you to read that. The material that you received here, the printed material, that's just a very small snapshot of what's really happened. You really want to, please hold that up. Yeah. But you definitely want to go in and take a look because if you thought that you knew everything there was to know about workforce and challenges and opportunities, I guarantee you that you won't. We have a publication that will be coming out in the spring. A lot of us have been working on that. It will amplify many of the themes that you've heard here, so we'll be in contact with you on that. And then also engage your Fed staff. So we have a number of Fed staff people here who are working on numerous issues. So we encourage you to make sure that you think of them as partners, bounce ideas off of them, share with them your problems, but also share your successes. We want to hear that. And so I'd like to just say the last word, and it was so powerful to have this conference begin by hearing from Ray Marshall. I mean, he is just a fantastic leader, a knowledgeable individual, but just an incredible human being. I mean, it's phenomenal to have that experience and to be in his presence. But he said one thing, and I want to build on what President Kaplan said, that was one word that I think just stood with me, and that's urgency. So let's not just go back and do the same thing that we did. Let's make sure to take advantage of, let's approach our work with some urgency. So it's not I'll worry about that next week or these issues. Let's do something about that immediately. So with that, I wish you a safe travel back. And I know for those of you in Austin, across the street, but for those of us who are headed to the airport, then safe travels back to your home. And thank you so much for your participation.